Lesson 38. Who do you say Jesus is? That is probably the most important question you'll ever answer. And out of this story comes what we call the Great Confession. And you hear it at baptism and when people give their lives to Christ. I believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. Where this took place is important. Caesarea Philippi. It's the farthest Jesus ever traveled from his hometown. It's way north. In fact, it's not in Jewish territory at all. It's in Gentile territory. So when he takes the disciples there, they're already a little uncomfortable because this is an area where the god Pan was worshipped. That's a nasty god. And they're kind of feeling out of place. And maybe it was this place that put them in a place where they could really understand who Jesus is, not just for the Jewish people, but for all people. And so Jesus asked this seemingly innocent question. Who do people say that I am? And there were a number of opinions on offer. Some say you're Elijah, some say Jeremiah, some say John the Baptist. By the way, all dead, all outspoken prophets against the leaders of Israel. But then Jesus turned the question personal. Who do you say that I am? And on behalf of the group, Peter pipes up and says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus' response is so classic. Verse 17. Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. In other words, Peter, this is too good to be you. Like Peter, he had foot and mouth disease. Every time he opened his mouth, in goes the foot. But every once in a while, he said something brilliant, and never more than now. So much so that Jesus said that had to come from God, that didn't come from you. But because you said it, there's going to be a positive consequence. Listen to what he says about Peter to Peter. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Two important elements. One is the word Peter. It means Petros. That's not his name. His name is Simon. That's his Jewish name. But Petros, kind of a Greek name, is a rock. And on this rock, Petra, Petros is masculine, Petra is feminine. Used poetically, I don't know how much of that to import here, but used poetically, Petros was a skipping stone, and Petra was like an outcropping of a major rock. That's what Jesus is going to build his church on. Is it Peter himself? Is it his confession? Well, people are going to debate about that. Here's what we know. That when you confess Jesus Christ, that is the bedrock for a firm life. Peter's pretty proud of himself right now. I mean, after all, he's going to have the keys of the kingdom. That's the second important term. And Peter will, in fact, with the keys, open up the door to the Gentiles. He's the one on the day of Pentecost that preached the first gospel message. And in Acts 10, the first Gentile to come to Christ, Cornelius, it was Peter who preached to him. So he opened the door to the Jews. He opened the door to the Gentiles. Now, whether he is like the only one who can forgive sins, bind sins, I don't think so. Actually, in John 20, the same phrase is used of all of the apostles. I think Peter's just the representative here. And as important as that is, the power to proclaim forgiveness of sins is not just Peter, it's not just the apostles, it's you and me as well. We have the ability, through the authority of Jesus Christ and the confession of his messianic identity, to lead people into a state where their sins can be forgiven. Whew, that's huge. But we have to get it in the right context. Peter proud of himself, but Jesus has to correct the confession. Because they thought the Messiah was about this conquering hero. Of all of the biblical and non-biblical prophecies about the Messiah, the vast majority of them are of a violent king who destroys his enemies. But Jesus is going to be a valiant king who dies for his enemies. And so he makes this prediction, and it was very specific. I'm going to go to Jerusalem. I'm going to be betrayed to the chief priests, the teachers of the law, the scribes. I'm going to suffer. I'm even going to be killed, but on the third day rise again. Well, they never heard the bit about rising again. It's like, but once he said killed, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. If you're Messiah, you can't be killed. You are the killer. And Peter intervenes, again, speaking on behalf of the group. May it never be. God forbid this be. You're Messiah, you can't die. And Jesus replies in one of the roughest rebukes of Peter's life. But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of men." Why did Jesus call him Satan? Well, Satan means the adversary. Because he was doing to Jesus right now what Satan did to Jesus clear back in the wilderness. There's another way. You don't have to suffer. There's a way around suffering as the Son of God. But Jesus says, not only is he going to suffer, but this is the way of the cross for everyone. This isn't just what Jesus is going to do for us. This is what we are going to do for others. And so I want to conclude by simply reading the words of Jesus back to Peter as the words of Jesus to you. This is the single most cited saying of Jesus in all the Gospels. Verse 24 and 25. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it."